I feel a little bad using someone's recording equipment during COVID, but that's okay. I guess they fight. I didn't watch the end. Actually, I never actually watched any
There's
of
a
the
sequel
first three
playing, 2
movies.
prequel movies, just to be clear.
Okay. Hello. Today, I'm going to tell you about Harry Potter, the Boy Wizard. I should say, spoiler alert, there's going to be some spoilers ahead. Well, I think they're spoilers. I don't actually know enough about the story to tell. I'm not sure. The series has existed longer than I have, so... Our story begins with Harry, an ordinary 10-year-old who lives in an understairs closet while his dipstick aunt and uncle raise their biological children in bedrooms. I'm not sure if they lost all their money in like a pyramid scheme or something, and that's why they can't afford to put Harry in a bedroom. But this isn't a story about child abuse, so I hope he only sleeps there, and that he can eat food with the family and like go to school and like doesn't generally have it too bad, but I don't actually know that. And I definitely don't know what the British CPS would think about this situation. So anyway, this granola hippie shows up and tells Harry that he knew his dead parents, and he would like to enroll him in the same boarding school castle that they went to back in the day. What Harry thought was weird was that this guy says that Harry is a magic boy, and he can do spells and stuff like his parents did before him. I'm not sure if Harry believed him because I never actually watched any of the first three movies, but I guess he believes him enough to go on the flying electric scooter like a budget chitty chitty bang bang to the school castle named Hogwarts. Pause. I was wrong about the electric scooter. There's actually a special magic train platform in London, right? But Hogwarts is in Scotland or something, based on the mountains. So that means that if you lived in Scotland, you know, back in the day, you would have to ride all the way down to London just to take the magic train to go all the way back to Scotland in probably the most pointless magic journey of your life. Also, I'm pretty sure you can get to Hogwarts using, like, magic toilets or fireplaces? Or something? Maybe that's only in the later movies. I don't know. Anyway. So Harry goes to the school castle, and it turns out that wizards and witches and fantasy creatures and stuff are all real. This is kind of surprising to him. So he goes into orientation and he gets put into his dorm, which, side note, is a pretty weird process. Let me tell you about how you get chosen in your dorm. It's a hat. You wear a magic hat and it decides which of the 4 dorms you best belong in. Because apparently it's also a budget Myers-Briggs personality test at the same time. That's ridiculous. That's a load of baloney. And let me tell you why. Imagine yourself when you were 12. Is that a good representation of you? Imagine if you were judged based on what you were like when you were 12 for the rest of your life. That's what the sorting hat is doing. Also, it's made up, like everyone is brave or whatever to a certain degree. Like, it's just like, yeah, go to Gryffindor or whatever. So, let's just... Moving on. He befriends this mopey little redhead named Ronald Weasley, a bleach blonde boy version of David Mitchell named Lucius Malfoy, a little round boy with black hair named Neville Longbottom. I'm going to get to that later. And a girl named Hermione Watson. And a bunch of other people whose names I've forgotten. And then he learns how to play games, such as Wizard Soccer and Wizard Chess. And then he saves the school castle using the Philosopher's Stone. Next movie, he finds out that his parents were killed when he was a baby by a Nazi wizard named Tom. It turns out that Harry is like the chosen one, destined to defeat Tom. So he tried to kill baby Harry. Seeing as how he tried to kill a baby and failed, this prophecy might actually be onto something. And then Harry Potter finds out in his next year of school that this wizard terrorist broke out of the Supermax Wizardy Skookum house and is now on the run. This guy is an old accomplice of Tom back in the day, and he's from the Black family, which is basically like the Harry Potter Habsburgs, I guess. And now to protect them from this guy, The school is now like surrounded with ring wraiths. They're like the school. I think that one of them like breaks free and goes on a rampage, but is stopped by Harry Potter, but I'm not entirely sure. What I do know is that it turns out that the guy that broke out of prison, Sirius Black, was framed. And hey, he's your missing godfather. And hey, he wants to meet you. And hey, he's gonna get executed. And then they use... I don't remember. Also, I don't know when exactly this happens, but later on, Harry accidentally volunteers as tribute for the Wizard intramural sports tournaments, and his teachers totally cheat on him to help win, or at least not lose the games. I don't know what that has to do with the rest of the story, but I do know it happens, and I wanted to include everything I know. Okay, and then I think it's around this time that one of the dorms almost wins the House Intramural games, and then loses in the last moment. And, like, everyone is happy. Like, they're applauding that these kids who are 11 to 17 lost, as if some great evil had been averted by the defeat of Slytherin. And also, I think they totally killed Robert Patterson somewhere in there. So, you know, Magic Osha's gonna throw a fit. And then he, like, fights yellow journalism, and there's dragons, yada yada yada. Tom the Evil Wizard is back. Side note, wizard politics. In Harry Potter, whether or not your parents were wizards actually matters in terms of, like, fantasy discrimination. It's your blood purity. But you can be a wizard without any of your parents being a wizard. So, like, there was an actual war, multiple wars, fought over something that clearly lacks a genetic component. That makes no sense to me. Maybe it's explained, I don't know. I just like to imagine what it would have been like if your parents were both, like, normal people, you know, and you're, like, writing home to them. Like, you know, we are being besieged by an evil Nazi wizard named Tom. And they're like, well, at least he's not failing. Oh, also, in one of the movies in there, there's like a secret room in the basement of the castle that one of the dorm founders made, and now the door is open, and there's a basilisk on the loose, and a basilisk is like a Medusa dragon. I'm not sure how they resolve it, but the person who opened the door, like, everyone is still cool with them. But I've actually seen more than 15 minutes of the 5th movie, so I feel qualified to talk about it. The current principal of Hogwarts is like this old war hero, and Merlin has been the principal for a long time. But he's getting kicked out by the magic British bureaucratic government for being too political and saying that the Dark Lord Tom has returned. And it all reaches a boiling point when Gandalf takes the blame for Harry starting a secret club in a magic room in the basement, a different magic room, to practice magic in a school castle for teaching kids how to use magic. And so the magic cops show up and try to arrest him, the principal that is, but he magically escapes. And the replacement principal is some uptight pink dipstick with a high opinion of herself who promptly goes full tilt footloose on the school castle. She takes down all the annoying paintings, she bans all the cool magic, and adopts a there is no war in Hogwarts school castle kind of thing. Side note, when my friends did a which Harry Potter character are you quiz thingy, I was given the angry janitor man, which I did not realize at the time, but that was not particularly flattering. However, it is true that I like clean bathrooms and I like cats and I hate children, so maybe it's not 100% off the mark. Anyway, Harry and his friends go Pink Floyd on this joint and they totally wreck the school. And it turns out that Mrs. Prim and Proper herself, the dictator principal, is indeed a magic Nazi. And there's this whole battle in the basement of people looking for a crystal ball or something. And Harry's godfather guy gets pushed into a smoky Stonehenge door and he dies. So that's pretty sad. Now, the last 2 movies are where it gets crazy. You remember that little guy I mentioned earlier, Neville? Well, he grows up, man. He is like Mwah. He's like a man
My
dime,
man.
a total 10.
Way to go, champ.
I don't know how it happens. I'm pretty sure it wasn't intentional, but too bad. I'm gonna point it out because it's very relevant to me. Plot-wise, in the last two movies, Tom assembles a huge army of like ogres and werewolves and his minions who kind of look like a cross between the Nazgul and the KKK, and then they besiege Hogwarts. And Hogwarts is a school castle, so it's a little bit better at being besieged than, say, my high school. And so then Maggie Smith takes charge and like starts defending the castle and all that. But the problem is that Harry is still back home in London. I think it's probably London. And they have to get him to safety because he's like the chosen one and all that. And then to further complicate things is that his chemistry teacher killed the school principal and has now betrayed them and is working for the Dark Lord now. So that's a bummer. And so then this is sort of the part of the movie where every time I started to get attached to a character, they died. It happened a lot. So it has its downer moments for sure. But anyway, Harry somehow manages to get to the Hogwarts school castle in time for the siege to start. Neville Longbottom, my man, manages to hold off a whole army of werewolves by himself. But then the siege isn't going super well. And Harry finds out, oh man, I totally forgot about the magic items. So the thing about Tom that makes him so hard to kill is that he split his soul like Sauron, and now there's like 7 rings that contain his soul, except they're not rings. Like one of them's a necklace, I think one of them's a cup and something. And so they have to like destroy them in a very particular way. And just like the One Ring, if you wear it for too long, you become evil. And the kids, like Harry and his friends, did not realize that one in time. Let me tell you what, that was a ridiculous couple of days where they were wearing the evil necklace that clearly gave you mood swings. I digress. So what happens? Harry's chemistry teacher then is actually a double agent all along and betrays Tom, but then gets killed anyway. And then Harry sees that and is like, oh, he might be a good guy. And then Harry gets to like, he does something and he gets to see his chemistry teacher's memories. And then he finds out that Harry himself contains part of the soul of the Dark Lord Tom. So like it looks like he has to die in order to defeat Tom, which does not quite sound like what the prophecy originally said, I hope, because this is like a book for children. And then I guess they fight. I didn't watch the end, actually. So this is a little pathetic. But based off of the rating, like it's not rated R, you know, and that it's a book for kids, I'm going to guess that Harry Potter lives and is successful in killing Lord Tom. I give it about 80% odds. And there's like a bunch of sequel movies, so yeah, he's gotta live, right? Right. He lives. It's fine. It's fine. Harry's alive.